because it's 9:59. And we're gonna be.
First time. I will remind you up front
to save the chat.
Save the chat. Give people more than 10 seconds. Like, okay, if you want to download it, download it. Okay, bye guys. And remember, if you introduce anyone, like say who they are. Just don't say like, if you call them, Paul answers or something. Just
right. No acronyms and no
coach
informal.
Well, like
informal gestures.
If you're talking about animation and you say like, oh yeah, animation is a great area. I mean, like Jay Snyder's, wonderful. You should say Jay Snyder, who's our animation coach, is wonderful, or something like that.
Yeah, I think these are good
notes. Some perspective.
Context, you say? Context.
Perspective. Oh, we're
Woo!
on.
Hello. Yes. Oh, I didn't even give you a warning. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Come on in at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock Pacific time. We are in the heat waves are freaking me out. Can't say there's a heat wave in LA. We are in the 90s, which meant last night we had kind of a New York summer feeling in the evening. Which I really appreciated because I miss New York nights that are warm, because LA nights get really cool and it's a weird like desert vibe, so the heat wave means we have like really lovely nights out here. And I'm sorry if I'm bragging for people who are cold still in your climates. I don't know how everybody's doing. Howard, it's probably still cold. I'm just guessing. The UK, we like to keep it chilly over there until like, I don't know, I think you get like maybe some of May and June and then August days. But anyway, whole thing. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Siobhan. Sup, guys? Hey, Luke. Oh my gosh, it's really great to see everybody. Michael, hey, how you doing? Jerry, Geddes, as always. Josh, hello. Great to see everybody. Dina in the house. John, hello, my friend. Gigi, hydrating. We love to see it. Okay. So yes, my name is Siobhan. I am your host for today's session, which is going to be this is Ask Me Anything at Edge Studio. We are 51 years old today, and we are, 16 years young or whatever. I don't know, y'all. I am out here to my Zoom. Dang it, I messed up. Right, it is my Chief Edge Officer, David Goldberg. How are you this afternoon, East Coast? How are you doing? You probably are not in a heat wave.
No, it's kind of crappy here. It is crappy, but you know what? Crappy rain, I don't mind that much actually, because it means that we'll have beautiful flowers and the trees will be happier. The grass will be happy soon. Give us a week. It'll be warmer. Yeah. It's 46, 47 here right now with heavy wind and very heavy rain. So it's not going out weather, but it's okay. We're inside and we're talking about voiceover. So everything is great, right?
Everything is great. We're talking about voiceover, and one thing that definitely would perk me up despite the gloomy April weather is the tulips planted in the tree pits all about the city, and I really enjoy that. And I wonder, will I see that in LA, or will tulips just die out here in the desert? I really don't know. Okay, everyone, if this is your first time, we are so happy to welcome you to this very silly hour here on Zoom. Welcome. If you are a returning member of our super fun community, I appreciate you being with us, because if you weren't here, I mean, David and I could hang out, but we like to hang out with you all. So speaking of hanging out with you all on the Zooms, we have some fun things going on. We have group coaching, a whole new thing here at Edge Studio, and David teaches group coaching. So if you are like, I want to do more voiceover work and more voiceover, I want to like enhance my practice, but I don't want to I can't afford the prices. We hear you. Boy, 2022 is wild. So group coaching is an option for you. And there's a little linky link for that. If you are like, I love the world of animation, but coaching privately is expensive. Our coach, Jay Snyder, he is the voice of Yugi in Yu-Gi-Oh! He's Knuckles in Sonic, Mewtwo, my personal favorite. I'm a big Pokemon fan. In Pokemon, he is teaching. By the way, this is a really amazing thing, because Jay Snyder is busy and mysterious. He's an omnipotent being. Somehow we convinced him to teach a group class. He said yes. Literally, y'all, when I trained him to teach on Zoom, because I did, I was like, so can we talk to you about a group class? And he was like, yeah, but not this month, but maybe next month. And I said, so can we ask you in February? And I like got him to say yes. So anyway, our education director, Sarah Glugach, then hook, line, and sunk it. That class is happening on April 30th. It is a weekend. So super fun times if you want to just hang out with Jay. I promise you, he is not only an amazing voice actor, but he is versed and trained in the art of education, which is an art, right? You're not every coach is like a master of education or actually has the discipline that Jay does because of his background in the theater. So please do yourself a favor and join him for that. I can't even tell you what a pleasure he is to work with. And then finally, if you're like, those things sound great, but my favorite person is this person named Siobhan. If you're like thinking that somewhere in the subconscious of your mind, I am teaching the social content calendar. If you are like thinking about social media and you kind of hate it, we all kind of hate it, but then we still do it. I am teaching a class on building your content calendar on April 21st. I will not show you my calendar because that will stress you out, but I can talk to you about building your own content calendar and some ideas to move forward. Because if there's one thing I've learned in this world is that strategy really helps you just find some solid foundation on the ground that you walk on. Because boy, the world is wild. Now, we do this Ask Me Anything session by asking questions in the chat. You probably have noticed that you are muted. It's not because I don't truly love your beautiful voice. It's just that like it gets really chaotic. If we want to unmute you for a question that we need help with, we will do so. But you will direct all your questions in the chat. And if you would like to save the chat, the way that you can do that if you're on a desktop, there's a little ellipses on the bottom right corner, which you can, you'll click that ellipses and then you can, the very top option for you says save chat. So we'll do that at the end of this hour. Finally, for your Zoom pleasure, you can view this however you want. It is being recorded in the speaker mode, which will be put on our YouTube. You can subscribe to our YouTube. It's a lot of my face, but whatever, that's fine. So, but if you like to watch it in gallery, which is how I observe it, your view button is in the top right corner of your Zoom square, and you can do speaker or gallery. Speaker gives you me and David. Gallery gives you all of the beautiful people and their fabulous home spaces and studio spaces. Now, caffeine is a beautiful thing, and here we are, me and my coffee. So, David, I'm so happy it's me and you today. And I thought the first thing just to start us off before we get into questions. So y'all, you can ask anything, voiceover in the chat. That's what we're here to talk about. Personal advice, I'd love to give it, but I'm really just not qualified. So we'll talk about voiceover here in the chat. But the first thing I want to ask David is if he can tell us a little bit about group coaching and how it's going and what it's all about and the impetus for it. And let's get into that.
Yeah, well, first, hey, everyone. Group coaching is exactly Ask Me Anything and then more. It's really cool. We bring 4 people together, 4 students, and it's a private hour. Everyone gets 15 minutes, right? So 4 students at 15 minutes fills up that hour. And in your 15 minutes, you can talk about anything you want. So far, just about everyone has wanted to do audition coaching, audition training. But I've had just a couple of people say, I'd like to spend my 15 minutes just getting into your head, getting into your brain about marketing, like what really goes on in the casting scene and what is it really that casting directors are looking for or listening for. Someone else had a whole bunch of studio questions on their home studio. So yeah, the 15 minutes is yours. And the coolest thing about it is that when you work with other people, you hear questions that you would never have thought of on your own. You hear questions from people with different backgrounds and who have different perspectives and different experience levels. And so it opens you up to a whole lot of new things. So what I've been telling everyone at the beginning of these sessions, since we started them just a few weeks ago, is that it will really behoove you to pay attention when other people have their 15 minutes. Like I can imagine, you get your 15 minutes and then you fall asleep, you take a nap during the other 45 minutes, not thinking it's worthwhile. But I have found, I knew this going into it, and I found it still to be the case, that during the other 45 minutes, you will actually gain more from your own than compared to your own 15 minutes. It's great to have your 15 minutes, right? You ask the questions you want, you get some training. But man, when you hear things that you would not have thought of on your own, answers to questions you would have never even thought of, but they can relate to you, that's really very impactful. So yeah, they're cool. And it's a lot less money than training with me privately, which is nice. I think there's a lot of benefit. I know there's a lot of benefit. It's a lot less expensive. We're doing them right now. Siobhan, is it? I think it's just Wednesday afternoons. We do them at 1 and 2. I think it is Eastern time.
Yes, we're just starting out with you at the moment, and then seeing how it builds, and that if we can't fit it in your schedule, we'll bring in some of our other incredible coaches to kind of give a little bit of diversity and in the offering. But yeah, I thank you, David, for telling us about that. And I think, again, just as you benefit, that's a good point to sort of bring it back to the sort of community space of the AMA, that we learn from each other just as much as we do from ourselves. And when we get to listen to somebody else, you have a little bit more space from it emotionally. So you can kind of reflect and observe in a sort of in a more nuanced way, I think, than when you are the one doing it. So I think it's sort of like has multiple benefits, as well as like a team and camaraderie, which is so helpful in, we're in our solitary little booths, our tiny little spaces. So it's nice to be with people sometimes. So yeah, awesome. So highly encourage people to do that. And oh my gosh, it's so funny talking about the weather. It's raining where they are. When I lived in LA, I missed really appreciating the spring and summer. I know, but I have to be honest, I really enjoy just like warm. I like the sun, y'all. It's like we get spoiled by it. Forgive me. I sound really good, right? Okay. So David, is group coaching for beginners or is it geared more towards pros?
Both. Absolutely both. I've had people of all different experiences. I think we've done this twice so far, the group coaching. I think it started 1 or 2 weeks ago. So we've done it once or twice. And yeah, I've had people at all different experience levels, which just adds to the interest of it, right? Because when you're experienced and you work with someone who's new, it reinforces some pretty basic stuff that you may have forgotten. And when you're pretty new and you're listening to someone who's further advanced than you are, it teaches you stuff you hadn't learned before, things you hadn't thought of. So it just is very beneficial. I sound like a walking like billboard for this thing, but they really are cool.
You're that close to having the QR code on your shirt, like we talked about that one time.
Yeah, right. I might do that next. Ask me anything.
You put it in your Zoom square. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so from Michael. Hey, everybody! If you don't know our friend Michael Fleming, how many mics are in your square today, Michael? Haha. Okay. Jokes. He was one of our guests for our home studio show and tell last month, and he's just a pleasure. And so you should, if you didn't get to attend, you should watch the video on our YouTube. He is asking David. He says, I was talking with a radio production director today, and he said that he hates ad agencies that take up their time because they can't produce their own spots. So what are other ways that a voiceover artist can be a one-stop shop for customers? Is it even feasible for a full-time VO artist? David, can I get some clarification from Michael? Because I feel like it's a big question. I'm going to unmute you. Do you feel like you get what he's saying, or do you want more?
I think I have it, but if you want clarification, that's fine. Yeah, Michael, do you want to ask it in your own words?
Yeah. So, Michael, are you asking if we should be editing videos?
No. So I went in to record a radio spot today, and in talking with the production director, he said that it's very frustrating for him that these ad agencies that are in town that only have one person and they just sell the ads, that they're constantly taking up their time, taking time away from what they need to do in the radio station because there's they can't produce a spot. They don't have equipment to record. They don't have software to do all the stuff that we basically do anyway. And so that's one thing that possibly as a VO artist you could do is say, come to me, I will produce your commercial and set it up with the radio station, kind of taking that away from the ad agency so they can go and sell things like they want to do, and kind of taking that off their plate and also having a good reception or having a good relationship with the radio station. It's just one way to maybe put another tool in your belt to offer to customers that gets them coming back to you more often. And so with that, are there other things that I can't think of, or that could be a VO artist could say, this is these are all the things that I can do for you, and just kind of build your own little business on that, maybe even becoming your own agency or ad agency of some sort. I don't know.
Well, you could become, Michael, you could become your own ad agency and then bring spots to your radio station, but ask them to produce them and see if you still piss them off. I'm kidding. That's because that's the very thing you're trying to avoid, right? So I just to give some context, while you were asking that question, Michael, for some reason, I lost complete reception for about 8 or 10 seconds. And I don't think anyone else did because my screen froze. So I'm assuming it was just on my end. But I
It was
do
just
believe
you,
I have,
David.
Okay. It's always me, man. So, but I do think I have the gist of your question. Just to give context for everyone else, it is pretty common for radio stations to give free production. The radio stations will put together a commercial for an advertising client at no additional cost. So if I understand correctly, this particular producer who works at the radio station is saying, it's upsetting that people take advantage of this. That has always surprised me because, number one, it's what the station offers. It's a way to lure in customers. So if the production manager said, we're going to charge extra, then maybe they wouldn't even have that customer. So I think it's silly of the production manager to say he or she is upset that people take advantage of something that they offer for free, because that's why you offer something for free, to bring in customers. Anyway, that said, it is terrific if all of you as a voice actor can be a one-stop shop, because clients very often like one-stop shops. Let me tell a brief story. We are at Edge Studio. We are not a one-stop shop. We don't offer video, for example. So we have a lot of customers who come to for voiceover who also have a visual component to their ultimate production, whether it's a documentary or a learning program that has visuals or whatever it happens to be. So we have customers say, can you do the video? And we say, no, we only do the voiceover. But then we can help the customer find a video source, and we can help them find a copywriter, and we can help them find an editor, and we will give our aid at no additional cost, not just because we're trying to be nice guys, but it's because it makes it an easier task for our ultimate client. Like, we don't want to do anything to turn off our client. So we offer all of these different services. Sorry, we don't offer these services, but we can recommend these different services. We can say to even a client, like, you need to purchase a microphone for whatever reason, for recording a rough track. Here's a wholesaler who we recommend, and here's the person to speak with at that particular wholesaler, and tell them we sent you, and they'll know that it's for this purpose or that purpose. And so we have our network of recommendations, and we have found over the years that clients really like it. Now, certainly, there are still potential or new clients who will come our way who need voiceover and say, oh, listen, if you can't offer the voiceover, if you can't produce the video on site, then we will go somewhere else. We want a one-stop shop. That's fine. We can't win them all. You can't offer everything to everyone. But our pitch always is, but we focus on voiceover because we will give you the best darn voiceover imaginable, right? The visual is important, and so too is the audio. So take that practice and translate it into your own business. So make a partnership with a copywriter and with a video producer and with a translator. And if you're a male, find a female voice. And if you're female, find a male voice that you can balance out to a client who needs a dialogue, for example. Create your own network of resources and make these recommendations. And maybe become an affiliate for these other companies, right? Whether it's editing to music, background music, and whatever it is. So you can, Michael, I heard you asking, what are the different elements or the people or the services that you could add to this listing of recommendations. Watch the credits of a couple of shows. Go through the credits and say, oh yeah. Costume design, no, I don't need that. But background music, yeah, that would be good. And copywriting, yeah, that would be good too. So I would recommend to just go to your Chamber of Commerce and hook up with someone local and have a little partnership. So maybe they send work your way and you send work their way, and have that partnership and make it easy for your clients. I hope I got the question there.
Thank you, David.
Okay, cool.
There's more on the private coaching, and it's just a question that's about for if you're truly a beginner, is it more beneficial to do group coaching than private coaching? So the question is, I've been told that private coaching is really more beneficial after you've done a lot of group practice from listening to others. Do you have an opinion on that, or what do you think?
Yeah, I have a big opinion on that. It depends on who is doing your group coaching and who is doing your private training. Because if you have your entrance into this industry in group coaching, and the questions that are coming your way are not relevant to you or to your voice, or the person who is overseeing that group coaching, for example, a coach themselves or some type of instructor or facilitator, if they're not able to translate the information that is coming from other participants in that group coaching onto you, then it may actually do more harm than good. So, for example, when I'm in a group coaching session, if person one asks a question, I might say, that is a dynamite question. And if you are union, that is excellent. But for the other three of you on the call, if you're not union, don't even like pay attention to this next thing I'm about to say. Like, I will look out for all four people on that call and make sure everyone, I make sure that I try my best to make sure that every piece of information that is asked during that hour call is translated to all four people differently. So people understand it may or may not make sense for them and what the variables are so they can figure it out for themselves. Because if you don't know that, then you're liable to go after or pursue things in a way that's not as beneficial for you. So in that case, group coaching, when you're brand new, it could be really detrimental to you. But with the right facilitator, I think it could be very, very helpful to you. In a perfect world, if every instructor is doing a good job instructing and looking out for all of the students, then I think a combination of private training and group coaching is ideal.
David, if Siri says if I'm working on something for a client, would group coaching assist with that specific script? Like, could you bring in a script for a gig you've got that you're like, hey, I want feedback, I want insight to this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the 15 minutes is yours. I don't care what it is. It's like, I mean, not to say like I don't care, but yeah, you can use it for a script that you're working on. And I think it would be terrific if during your 15 minutes you're actually at your mic and you record some, right? Why not for those 15 minutes? Maybe you can't finish the entire script, but we can go over bits and pieces of it. You could do some trial runs. I could give you some feedback on those trial runs. Say, try it, slow down here, speed up there, whatever it might be, and explain why. And I'm going to make it instructional. And then you'll have that recorded, and then you can go back and record the entire piece on your own. But you'll have that recording from the consult, that group coaching to reference. So I think that would be very helpful.
Perfect. It has been asked in the chat, and I'm just going to say it out loud. If Gettys is making some for everyone, there are 83 of us Gettys. So just so you know, okay? So that's good. He's cooking in his square. David, are studios willing? I mean, I guess this is a question that's kind of hard to answer because I already know that the answer is it depends. But do you feel, the question is, are studios willing to collaborate with international talent from your experience? Does Edge Studio work with folks outside of the US on projects for production?
Very often we do, yeah. We have recorded, I think the number right now is 144 different languages. And when we can, we record in person. But very often for some of the more challenging languages to source, or voice actors to source of a certain age and style and sound in a remote language, we can't find it right nearby any of our studios. So yeah, we very often record remotely. And of course, for 2 years during the pandemic, when our studios were shut down, we recorded everything remotely. So there's a great benefit to recording certain things remotely because we're more confident that we're getting the real deal. So if a client calls and says that they need a French speaker, our first question is, well, what kind of French? I mean, do you want Parisian French, Canadian, Malaysian, whatever? And if they say Canadian, we might say, well, do you want Quebec or Montreal? Like, what kind of accent do you want? And anyway, we let our accents drill down to the accent, the style, and the nuances of the voice. And then if someone wants like a Quebecois voice, then we're going to go to Quebec and source talent there. I mean, we're more assured of getting an authentic read. And I'm somewhat trained on recognizing accents and dialects, but I can't tell the difference between many different French accents. But if we hire a voice actor from that specific region, yeah, we're probably going to get the real thing. And even if it's just audition at that point, our client will feel much more assured that we're giving them the relevant voice actor. So yeah, we record internationally very often.
Years ago, I actually assisted the production department when they needed sort of a depth of Arabic speaking talent. And they were like, we have to get a large number of voice actors. And I had my friend make a post. She's on this thing called Mipster, which is the Muslim hipster mailing network. And that's how we sourced. We were able to find more, a wider range of talent through that thing. It's a wild world, but yeah, and that's not just, that's folks globally. So yeah, international people, do your thing.
Yeah, we often will go for a really difficult language to source. We've gone to radio stations in a different country and just said, look, we need a voice actor. Do you have someone who sounds like this? We've gone to embassies, translation services in other countries. Yeah, we have to do whatever you have to do for your clients, because it's very, very common in our production department for a client to send a script and say, we need this translated and recorded in 34 different languages by next Wednesday, for example. And that's our job. We handle the translation, the localization, then we do the recording and the editing and so on.
David, have you ever seen, or would you consider making a video of a casting session and what they actually encounter from submissions and what they talk about? That would be really helpful to know what is honestly discussed during one of these sessions.
That is a fabulous idea. I don't think we could ever do it. Number one, I can't imagine a client who would want their stuffs out there in the video world or even for educational purposes. Secondly, a lot of the scripts that we run through auditions, we are under a clause in agreement that we cannot reveal the client or the product. There's a non-disclosure clause, all sorts of stuff like that. So I don't think we could necessarily do that. However, I happen to teach a class on that. In fact, if you take the advanced audition class, we sometimes talk about those things, but there is a big, it's like a 6-hour class I teach on audition. And it's all about really understanding what goes on behind the scenes, like what happens in casting. We really break it down. That class is not scheduled at the moment, but next time it is scheduled, or check our newsletters. I'll bring it to the director of our education department, and maybe we'll get that back up on the books again.
David, how important is it for a voice actor to have Source Connect?
I don't think it's important at all. What I think is critical is that you know how to use Source Connect, like you're familiar with it. And so when a client says, can you record by Source Connect, you say, absolutely. And then you can go and download it, turn it on, and do your thing.
That was going to be my hot take. I was going to say, David, is it unpopular to just say you have it? And then when the client's like, let's do Source Connect, you're like, great. And then you get it. If you're starting out and it's expensive,
Yeah, but I would not say you have it, because that's lying. I know, it's just my own ethics there. But you can say, I can record via Source Connect. You're not saying you have, but I can record. So as a voice actor, you should go out there and download the free trial, watch tutorials on it, really familiarize yourself with that, with other remote sources like IPDTL. Make sure you know how to patch Skype through your system. Make sure you know how to patch Zoom, which we're on now, through your system. And just make sure, make 100% certain that you're on top of all the different technologies that you may be asked to use for your potential sessions with your clients, and say, yeah, I can record through Source Connect, IPDTL, Skype, Zoom, go down the list. And so, yeah, just be ready for it. And I mean, really be ready, take classes in it, watch tutorials, practice it, maybe every 4 months or 6 months, have it come up in your calendar and check for updates and see what's new in these systems. So when you do download it one day because you need it right away, you're really comfortable with it and ready to go.
And for my new folks, for context, David, what is Source Connect?
Source Connect is a digital phone. That's what I would call it, essentially. Yeah. Now, I actually, even a better way to record to define it. This won't really make sense, but it's a really, really long ass microphone cable. It's software. It's digital recording software that allows the person on the other end of your connection to record your voice. It's just like I said, a really long microphone cable, right? You're in your studio and you take a cable that's like 50 miles long, 1,000 miles long. Well, they can record it on their end. And it has lots of other features as well. But it's great. It's really great. It means that the person on the other end can hear you in digital clarity, so they can direct you really easily. You think back to the days before some of these systems, and we used to do telephone patch recordings. So we'd have a client call in and listen to a voice actor over the phone. We would record it on our end, and they would direct by telephone. But how much could they hear by telephone, right? It wasn't as clear. And then we'd finish the recording. We'd have to. I remember the days of having to FedEx out a tape, like a reel-to-reel tape to a client. Now then we got to the point that we could email it, but now the client can record it on their end, which is so cool, and they can direct you from their end. It's nice.
My only context for reel to reel is Blondie's Dreaming. But otherwise, I sometimes I feel a little like jelly of the olden days because it sounds like a little bit simpler. Like things were a little bit simpler, but also to David's point, we can make things sound really fancy right now. And there's great. The chat is sort of popping with thoughts and feels here. I do know that Kevin uses IPDTL quite a lot with Edge Studio. Am I right, David?
Yeah, Kevin is our lead engineer, and yeah, he is a big IPDTL fan.
Yes, Kevin, our like just amazing engineer. And he's like talked to me. I was like, what is that? And he like explained what it is. He has been at one of our AMAs, in December now, which feels like a million years ago. Woo! Okay, so Source Connect has a 2-day. Thanks for all this great information. Yeah, an IPDTL $20 day pass if you don't want to pay for it every month. But compared to the $15 a month, that's like, it sort of is like case by case. New people, if you're like, what in the heck is all of this? Just like, don't stress, save the chat, browse at your, abilities to look into these things and what they are, and take your time. You will be fine. So I have a question from Leslie. Okay, Leslie Howard. Hi, David. Hello, Leslie. I'm an established audiobook narrator specializing in spiritual nonfiction. And I'm sort of wondering about spiritual nonfiction right now. But Leslie is curious about getting into e-learning and meditation narration. I love a meditation narrator indeed. How would I get into that? I don't have a lot of time and energy to hustle a lot for it. Word. And she says, I think I could work e-learning content into my workflow, and I think I have the skills for it. But I guess basically this question is like, how do you expand your niches from your voiceover field? What do you think, David?
Yeah, it's a great question. I love hearing when voice actors really have a niche in the industry. That's great. Like audiobook narration is one, but then, to break it down into spiritual nonfiction, that's cool. So, and it makes logical sense to sort of piggyback that into meditation narration. So if you are pretty confident that you can already do this without any necessary training, I would get an assessment from someone, myself, or someone who really knows that e-learning world. I mean, I know that world inside and out, just to make sure that you know the words to hit, because I could write a thesis on the differences between narrating spiritual nonfiction and e-learning. Mostly it's about the tone and the word emphasis. They're massively different. But if you think you can do it, get an assessment, make sure that you can do it, then put together some samples, a demo, stick it on your website and market. I mean, it is as simple as that. Now, I realize that that's not necessarily simple to do. I'm just saying like those 3 steps are simple, but then you have to actually go and do the work of marketing and taking the time to market. You may be able to just reach out to your current clients and say, FYI, I also offer this, and maybe they will bite. Maybe that will bring you to some work. I don't know the status of your clients, but it's pretty straightforward, right? Make sure you know what you're doing, record a demo, stick it on your website, reach out to some clients. Those are I think the steps to take.
it's a really hard and relatable journey to say like, hey, I don't have a lot of energy for the hustle. And my advice to that is like, um, build it into your schedule down the line. So let's say you're doing stuff right now and you're like, this is my niche and I've got niche. I say, how do you say that word? So, you're like, you're doing your thing. For me, I sort of have to stagger my labor because like life is really busy. And if you're like, I want to expand my horizons, um, I, gosh, you're going to have to hustle. You're going to have to explore. You're going to have to spend time researching. By the way, the research, like creating your pitch decks, that's work, right? That's part of your job. If that's busy right now, what I do, if it's too busy for that right now, what I do is I say, okay, like April's crazy, May's got this thing. You know what though? June doesn't have like a big project or whatever. Like, let me put in some time. Let me devote June to exploring this and putting in some hours into that particular hustle because we all only have so much time. And I think that again, what I'm talking about is strategy. This is a big thing I'm working on for myself too. Is like how you build in your strategy in terms of your promotion, expanding, all of the things that you do.
Yeah, a
So
couple of quick
yeah,
thoughts. So at least get the assessment and figure out if you know what you're doing. Because if you work with someone, again, myself or someone else who you trust, and they say, yeah, you're fabulous for this, like you're ready to go, you don't need additional training, then you can record samples on your own, perhaps, or piggyback off of your current clients. But conversely, if they say, you know what, you need a lot of training, you might say, okay, that does it. I'm not going to enter this right now, not at this time in my life. And the other thing I was thinking is give up one audiobook, turn away one job. If you figure if the typical nonfiction book is 10 hours long, 10 to 11 hours long, you're talking 40 to 60 hours of work. To turn down one job. I know that's hard to do, but see it as an investment in your career, your long-term career. Turn down one audiobook, and if you have an extra 40 to 60 hours, then devote those 40 to 60 hours to marketing a new genre. Because maybe at the end of the day, you'll find out that the new genre is more interesting to you, more personally satisfying. Maybe you're more successful, and successful by means of money or enjoyment, or combination, whatever. But you may find you love it. But start by figuring out if you even have something, right, before you go and do much more.
David, does
Start.
Edge Studio, genuine question, because I'm not sure, does Edge Studio produce a pre-recorded demo? Like, let's say, okay, so let's say it's Leslie, narrator, created some spots that they recorded themselves, and then sent them to us at Edge Studio. Would we kind of mix it and like create the sound? Do we do that? Is that a service we offer?
We do offer that service. Yeah, you can do all of your own recordings, and then we will mix them. You should know that when we do that, about, I'm guessing at least a quarter, if not even a third of the time, we send the files back to the person and say the recording is just not clear. Like there's too much echo in your room. It's just whatever. It's just not a good audio recording, and we will not mix it at that point. So yeah, we turn away quite a few of those. Actually, we get some that sound pretty freaking bad, I must say. So but yeah, then we can take it and we can mix it. And usually I get involved with those because usually voice actors will send 2 takes of each thing, and they might send more material than necessary. So usually I'm the one who sits in and goes through it and sort of parses everything that's sent to us. And I might say like, I've actually said to some people, like, you've sent me 10 minutes worth of stuff. I think 30 seconds is usable, and there's enough to produce a short demo. If you want that 1 minute long demo, you need to go back to the drawing board and send me some more recordings, or re-record these recordings, and for this reason and that reason. There have also been at the other end of the spectrum, people have sent me an hour, 10 minutes, an hour worth of material, and they pay me to sift through it, and that's fine. And I'll at the end of the day say, the way I kind of broke it all down, you have enough for 4 different demos. There's actually, we could break it down to promotion, like sales and promotion demo, and an e-learning demo, and a this demo, and a that demo. Because as I go through, I have this little spreadsheet system I use where I'll take each recording that comes in and break it down by genre and by emotion. So I might say like, yeah, there's enough stuff for like a perky demo or a sad demo or whatever it might be. And then, like I said, with genres and stuff, it's interesting. So you end up with typically more demos than you might think.
Now, just to clarify, when you're saying you send audio back saying, hey, this has echo or whatever, you're not saying that you fully reject the voice actor. You might say, hey, give us another recording, right? Like, here's some notes, do it again.
Yeah, well, we don't reject the voice actor, but
right.
we reject the home studio quality. Yeah.
Right. And so you could take the notes. Yeah, you could take the notes, clean it up, and bring them back to Edge.
Yeah. Well, at that point, typically you can't clean up that particular audio. That voice actor needs to sort of reassess their home studio, retune their home studio with better equipment or more sound absorption or whatever it might be, and then re-record. Yeah, we can take audio. I'm sure all of you know this. We can take audio and through software, audio processing software, make it sound a lot better. I sort of see it like airbrushing a photograph, right? We can make it sound better, but it's really unfair if we do that, because then you're sending a potential a potential client, some type of audio that you can't produce. It's one thing if we enhance something, we'll enhance everything we get. That's fine. But if someone sends us something, audio, that's just horrific, right? If we have some magical way, some software to make it sound fantastic, that just is doing a disservice to the voice actor, because every time they market something, well, they'll market their demo and they'll probably get bites, and then they'll send an audition or a job from their home studio, which will sound really terrifying. And then the client will say, but this is not what we're paying for. Your demo sounds different, right? Your home studio sounds echoey or whatever. So yeah, we'll enhance something, that's fine, but we're not going to like fix your audio. So we will reject the audio, not the voice actor, but the audio.
Right. But we'll work with you. But that's what I'm saying is you don't be afraid.
Yeah. We'll say like, we can't produce it because there is echo, or because there's so much buzz in the background, or because, this or that. Sure.
Okay. This is from David. David. Can't do it. Maybe you tell me in the chat. Before actually, it could be so many things, hoax could be one, but I feel like there's got to be like a but I don't know. Okay, so before actual coaching sessions, either group or private, are there types of evaluations offered? Yes, there are, David, and it's Investigate Voiceover. It is a group class. And rumor, actually, it's not a rumor, it's literally on the website. It is offered in person in New York and LA, but there is a rumor that I might make an appearance at the LA IVO this month. So if you want to come and party at Voice Tracks West, those are like my people. It's going to be a good time with me and Jen, and I don't know if Andrew Feliciano will be there, but yeah, come into an Investigate Voiceover. And if you are not in New York or LA, you can take it online in the Zoom, which we love to see. So yes, that's what that's our offering. Of course, other places do other kinds of evaluations, but our recommendation is to take the group class because it's paired with all kinds of knowledge about the industry, as well as the chance for you to read and everybody else to read, so you can hear people's notes, get your own notes, and then you receive an evaluation afterwards about what we think your next steps should be. Okay, and then he says, video is something I only do for my own amusement. Yeah, I know. Like, we have to learn so many skills in this world. Okay, from Cece, an internal corporate video, 8 minutes long. Oh boy. Okay, so this is a rates question. Oi, oi, oi. David, let's see. So there's an internal corporate video. It's 8 minutes long, used for 5 years, including 2 revisions. What is the right way to calculate the rate? Our rate guide says 5 to 10 minutes. $550 to $700. Pickups are $250 per 30 minutes. I mean, David, any general notes on how to calculate our rates for the kinds of labor that this thing might involve?
Yeah, the numbers that Siobhan just read off are from our rate card, which is based on averages. If you're brand new, maybe charge a little bit less. If you're really experienced, you can demand more money. But it's really hard to give a rate. It's impossible, in fact, to give the best rate, because I don't know who the client is. I don't know how badly they need it. I don't know how many people will listen to it. You say it's going to be used internally, but is that for 10 people, for 1,000 people? There's so many questions out there. I think if you have no idea where to go, just go with the rate on our rate card. That is an average. By the way, a lot of voice actors, and by the way, I'm assuming you're new, and therefore a lot of new voice actors are very scared to ask a rate that they feel comfortable asking. They're scared or nervous to ask the rate that is the industry standard, the average industry standard. because they're brand new. They don't have the experience to back it up, and therefore they ask or they request very low prices for their work. I'll tell you that sometimes the very low prices are scary. And clients we find very often don't go with the cheapest voice actor. On average, they'll probably go with the voice actor who charges somewhere in the middle range. So if we send out an audition for a job for an 8-minute corporate video and 10 estimates come in with auditions, and the client says, I like all 10 auditions. One person charges $200, one charges $400. They might go with someone who charges $300. You don't have to be the cheapest. So I would, assuming you're new, I would go with that rate that Siobhan just read out. That's the typical average industry standard for a non-union internal training video. I think that sounds very fair.
The one piece of advice I can give that's not specific numbers related that I think is really important from what we read off in that regarding the Edge Studio rate card is including how many revisions in the price. Meaning, and this is like across the board, my brother's a composer and he's got a podcast project and he didn't do revisions in his first quote, the number. And the client is not great at giving the kind of feedback he needs. And my brother's just like back in our voiceover studio next door. And we're working on just like all the time. And the reason is because like when you are specific, like this includes 2 revisions, it will actually encourage your client to give you better notes, more specific notes, and it'll save you and the client time. So if you're just like, oh, it's this amount, and you aren't talking about revisions or pickups or whatever, then like you could be super stressed. And so could they, because they'll be like, and they just have they could be nitpicky as heck if they're not on deadline, you know? So I think like keep that in mind with the things, with the things that you do regarding your rates. And it's a journey. And I think our more experienced voice actors can also say, hey, you know, it varies, you negotiate, you kind of talk, the emails go back and forth. And sometimes you lose stuff. Like you really do, because you're not willing to go too low. And I think probably everybody has had that experience. I certainly have. And I think there's no shame in that, because when you lose stuff because you won't go too low, by the way, you're helping everybody out because they need to know that they have to pay a certain rate. And that's for everybody here, all 86 of us to like remember is like charge a reasonable rate. That helps all of us to succeed here. So that's my little community speech, a little crying. Okay, so yes, we have questions about producing. There's so many questions about Source Connect from Grace. When, if at all, do you think voiceover artists should recruit the expertise of a lawyer to draw up terms and agreements in providing voiceover service? Would you recommend using a lawyer to write up payment agreements, David?
Yes. Terrific question. And absolutely, if you can afford it, I think it's terrific at the beginning of your career to work with a lawyer and draw up your terms, because they will probably think of things that you would not have thought of on your own. You can look online and get a template, right? Look around and see what kind of terms are out there. Just get an idea. But the right entertainment lawyer will probably come up with a lot more that will help you solidify things. So I definitely recommend that.
Regarding Edge Studio services, should I do group coaching or private or the investigate voiceover class first?
The investigate voiceover class first, because that is the assessment. Yeah, it's just like I think it was Leslie who asked the question earlier about 15 minutes ago about audiobooks and getting into a new genre, right? First, start with an assessment, like figure out if this is for you. Leslie, you may find that your voice is fantastic for e-learning and meditation apps and things, but maybe you're not right for it. Like maybe you're really good for it, but the industry is not looking for your voice, or the reverse. Well, to the person who just asked this question about what to do first, you may find that a coach at the Investigate Voiceover class, which is our assessment class, says you're great for voiceover. Like your voice is absolutely perfect for it, but you'll learn about the industry and realize the industry is not right for you, or the reverse. Maybe the way the industry works, the flow of the industry is great for you, but your voice is not right for it. It has to work both ways. I hope that makes sense. And if it does, then great. If not, let me know.
There is one other service.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, sorry, David. There is one service that I guess that's the bridge between these two, which you can have a one-on-one private evaluation. If you
Yes.
are like, if that's your jam. So you can book that as well with us, and a coach will really talk to you for that hour about your wheelhouse and your strengths and weaknesses and things like that, and what they see for you. And you'll receive a written evaluation from that as well. But the IVO is cheaper by a lot. so
yeah, it is, because you're in a class with other people and you learn a lot about the industry. So it is far less expensive, and you get, but the biggest thing we're looking for in the Investigate voiceover class are red flags. I mean, we have a lot of people who come into this class. It's a very popular class, by the way. We have it offered multiple times every week remotely, and now back in person again, which is exciting. And we're listening for people who just come in and have wonderful voices but can't read. I mean, it happens. Whether it's a reading disorder, they just can't take direction. They're not comfortable reading out loud. All different things. I know we've heard it all over the years, and so we're really checking for red flags. We want to make sure that anyone who enters our demo and training program has a chance of success. We don't want to bring anyone else in and tie up our coaches with them and tie the student up with a coach. So that's what we're looking for. And yeah, if you want to do a private evaluation, that's fine. Also, we offer those as well.
David, Scott has heard some coaches say that you should record without headphones because hearing yourself can affect your delivery. It kind of makes sense to me, but is it really just a personal preference sort of thing?
It's a personal preference, but I would never recommend it. I always recommend keeping your headphones on. And here's the reason why. When you work with a client, very often you need to have your headphones on because they are directing live. So if your ultimate goal is to have a job with a client, well, then you should do everything during your training phase that most closely replicates a session with a client, and that is wearing headphones. So when you practice at home, you should have headphones on. If you take a coaching session, whether it's an evaluation or a coaching session remotely, have your headphones on. Get used to it now. So when you have a client who says you need your headphones on because we're directing live, then you're prepared for it. It's very different. It's very different reading without headphones on. Extremely different. So you should get used to it having with headphones on. I will tell you that once you are experienced, then you can record with or without headphones and you'll be fine. Once you learn how to listen differently for each of those two applications, then you're totally fine. Like I said, you can record with headphones or without headphones. But when you're brand new, keep those headphones on. Get used to it because it is more difficult for someone to learn how to record with their headphones on.
I like my headphones on. I feel more focused because I normally don't hear myself like that. So when I'm in the booth with my headphones on, it just gets me in the zone. Or as Chris says, I need to hear if my stomach growls during a take. And that's because Getty's isn't done making all of our lunch yet. So
yeah, but you're right. No, seriously, you will hear more with your headphones on without question, right? Especially if you run it through processing first. So you'll really hear it like the end user's way, which is terrific. But also, like I said, when the client is directing, it's much better if they're coming out in your headphones rather than a speakerphone or a computer speaker that's set up beside you, because that's making noise and that noise can get onto the microphone. So that's really important. And the third reason to keep headphones on is it blocks out any noise from outside. So it does help your concentration. So if there's a little buzz behind you or a dog barking or something, maybe you won't hear it, right? And so it doesn't distract you from the midst of your recording.
Question about coaching. I'm jumping all around. People, if I'm missing your stuff, it's not, I do love you. I'm just trying to get a wide range of questions here. So Chris is asking about the difficult part is finding a coach that will help you. We want a coach that we like, but also that we work well with and that we like sort of succeed with, And is it important to find a coach who can hone your specific voice, or is a general voiceover coach fine?
I would always find a coach who works in your specific genre. That is, I think, the most important thing. I mean, obviously, you have to be able to communicate with them and have some sort of chemistry. But as important as bedside manner is, I think having someone who knows the industry and will be frank with you, that is ultimately more important. someone can listen to you read, and if they don't offer realistic, like practical critique, then you're not going to learn, and you're going to be screwed when you go in for your first audition. So you need someone who knows the industry inside and out, someone like who breathes that particular genre or type of voiceover. And also, if they really understand that particular genre or style of voiceover, then they should know theoretically what's current in the industry, what is being hired, like what's being hired today. So you can get work the day you finish that demo. That's really important. So it's funny. A lot of voice actors or new voice actors will come in and say, like, I want a demo, and I want to make sure that demo is going to last me for 10 years. And my first comment is, why? Don't you want something that's going to get you work today? Who cares what's in 10 years? If you're successful in 10 years, you'll have enough paid work to make your own demos, right? You'll always want to update your demos, just like someone should always want to update their resume. If you were to write a resume because you're searching for an office job somewhere, you wouldn't even think to write a resume that will last you for 10 years. You think, oh, let me put down what's relevant today for today's market that's going to get me work today. And that's what the demo is. And so, yeah, work with someone who knows the current industry.
And it's it's okay to work with someone and then like have a session and say like, oh, I don't think that was my coach, and like to find another one. So what's nice about Edge is that we have a variety of folks you can work with. So if you're like, oh, I'm not vibing, like, can you give me someone else? You can ask our education department about that. There are other, institutions that are really owned by one person, right? And it's just them, right? But that's also something you could sort of research. I mean, it's just like just part of the process is finding someone that you feel really good about. David, I have this question. I'm given this question for my nerds, like deep in the weeds here. So this may not be for everybody, but John is asking, not calling you a nerd, John Chase, I'm just saying, but this is pretty deep in the weeds. So what is the best setting? And I'm asking this because David is a musician. What is the best setting for a music bed under narration? For example, should it still be -3 decibels for vocal, and should the music be -6 decibels? Thanks.
That's like saying, what is the best color for a house? What is the best seasoning for my food? I mean, it depends. There's no answer. There's no template. You should never use a template for this stuff. If you want a, good sound, it depends on so many factors. I couldn't even begin to tell you. And on top of all that, if the music bed is mixed well, the levels will adjust throughout the programming. When there's no voiceover, for example, it might come up a bit in the breaks. There may be a musical interlude or something that you want louder. Depends on the kind of voice, how the voice sits with the music, because if there are frequencies in the music and voiceover that compete, you may have to sort of duck down certain frequencies in the music. And so, just to continue on that for a second, if we have a client who says they want the music really loud, that's fine, but we can actually find the strongest frequency in the speaker's voice. And if it's, let's just, to make up a number, let's say the narrator has a really solid voice at 4K, right, 4,000 frequency, we can boost it a couple of decibels on the speaker and subtract a couple of decibels from 4K on the music, sort of creating a hole for the voice to sit in. So the music is really loud, but the voice can still be heard. And then we have clients who say, we just want music so low just to give a little like subconscious energy in the background, or we want music, we don't even want music, but there's some hiss in the background of where we're recording and we need to cover it up. I mean, man, it ranges. It really ranges. If a recording would be played in a loud location, like a conference, a big conference where the client is set up and there's thousands of people around, like at the Javits Center in New York City, for example, a big conference center, then maybe you need the music mixed at a different level than you would if it's something to be listened to on headphones, where the clarity is more distinguishable. There's no one right way, not at all.
And if you're talking to Howard and Devin, do not put too much music in that demo because it will make him cry. So that's an seeing him lose his mind in the chat. Y'all, this has been a super great active session. It's really great to see your beautiful faces. Thank you for joining us. I wish I could it's so funny, David, if we did a marathon, I bet we could go all day. Wouldn't that be crazy?
I was just thinking I was just thinking I could go all day on mixing, just mixing music and voiceover. It's such an art like bringing it up and down, like so the listener never hears. Oh yeah, I could talk about that all day.
Maybe for episode 100, when we get there, we should get really in the weeds. Y'all, it is again an absolute pleasure to be with you. Remember, if you would like to save the chat, to click that little ellipses, and your top option truly just says save chat. And one more time, group coaching with David Goldberg is a good experience, and we highly encourage you to check that out. Additionally, again, our animation fundamentals with Jay Snyder, our animation specialist, as well as, the Yugi in Yu-Gi-Oh! If that's your jam. I'm the Pokemon person myself, so Mewtwo. What a sonorous sound Mewtwo has. Also, the social content calendar with me, talking about marketing, talking about building yourself a little bit of strategy to get yourself going that doesn't make you want to kind of like panic about everything. Not that I do that. I don't panic. I'm doing great. And that's because I, a long time ago, took the Investigate voiceover class, which was very, very good and fun and educational. And we'll see you in person in New York and LA for that experience. And then again, we do offer home studio consults. If you're like trying to kind of get that sorted, there were so many great home studio questions today. You can book a one-on-one and hang out with Dan Friedman. He's a real pleasure to talk about talk about nerds. Love the nerds. And if you're just like, I just love Edge Studio and I just always want to know what's going on with them, I have our little link tree that I made that's just got all of our good links for upcoming stuff, YouTube recordings, blog posts. We've been featuring some alumni in our blog posts lately. Really fun stuff to look into there. And just in general, all of our upkeep here at the studio. Our home studio show and tell is on Zoom. It is next week. I can't even believe, I don't understand that. I understand that time just continues to catapult forward, but on April 13th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, we will, so evenings for my evening folks, we will be doing home studio show and tell, hanging out with people, talking home studio, just two folks that will showcase, and we'll just hang out there. And I am your host, of course, for that as well, in case you were like, who's going to be there? It's me. So, okay, David, any last minute thoughts or feels before I end this session?
Yeah, there were some really fun questions this time. Thanks, guys. You know what? Think of good questions for our next Ask Me Anything. Think of interesting questions. Really good. I think it teaches everyone, right? Like the premise of Ask Me Any, like the premise rather of the group coaching. Yeah, spend these next 2 weeks before we meet again and come up with some really interesting questions, things that can really kind of grab everyone's attention. It'll be fun to answer them.
And thanks y'all for showing up for each other too. We'll be back on the 21st at the same exact time. And it's great to just see you all popping off and making jokes and like saying hi to each other. It brings me a particular joy. So thank you for doing that. And we'll see you so soon. Yetis, enjoy your meal. I hope it's really, really great. And to everybody else, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Great to see you again, Donald, Regina, Albie, love your whole vibe. It's really good. Leslie, keep rocking it with that spiritual nonfiction. You guys are great. Mwah. Bye.
Bye, Siobhan. Bye, everyone.